$3,100 increase or cost to the technology. That would be one that was for the police station, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that would be one that I would include in that. What I need, what I'm asking
Included
BJ,
in what?
What I'm asking
Included
BJ,
in what?
what I'm asking for BJ, and this is from you, if you're responsible for the budget,
Mhm.
I'd like to see everything that was spent on the police budget, on the police station, in total, no matter what fund it came from, everything that was spent on it, if that's possible to do. I would assume we can do that.
Oh, we certainly can, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was asking for.
And I'll just say, public records requests typically is we don't create documents to respond to a public records request.
So that goes to my next question. If a budget wasn't kept, if a budget wasn't supplied to me, or a total wasn't supplied to me through my public records request, which I wasn't asking you to come up with a record or a piece of paper,
Sure.
why wasn't it kept during this project? It's one way or the other. Either it was kept and it wasn't supplied through my public records request, or it wasn't kept, and I'm asking why it wasn't kept.
If I may,
Yeah.
one of the ways we manage the budget is through the appropriation process and encumbrances. So purchase orders issued, so initially when council authorized the $4.6 million, we issued a purchase order, and upfront, because we don't know who all the other vendors are going to be for the IT and other things, we issued the 4.6 all to Robertson, knowing that eventually during that first year, as the IT guy, okay, we have a contract with this person, so now I reduced the $4.6 million by the $44,000, whatever. So that's one of the tools we use to manage the process. I also had a running tally of the $4.6 million and then every change order. The one we recognize that the change order process was not well managed. I mean, that was one of the problems we ran into. And so as a result, it was hard to know at any point in time with the soft dollar cost where the total number was.
I understand, and that's a great segue into my next question. My next question has to do with the furniture. So in talking with a meeting with Deputy Bowles and the chief, they talked about, they had an understanding for a budget that they may have had a certain dollar amount that was in the original budget. We had an ordinance that came through, a resolution I should say, 2018-059, that where council approved $135,134.22 for the furniture. And yet, in your write-up, you say that the budget that they had was $106,710 for soft dollar expenses. So I'm trying to reconciliate these different numbers. And if this says, and I quote, "The construction budget for the new police station has funding available to cover this purchase," and this was done in December. And in August, we have emails that show that there was $57,000 left in soft costs. So I don't know how, I guess what I'm trying to understand, and I believe you guys gave me plenty of paper to read. I'm trying to figure out how we approved something in December without council knowing that that was gonna put us over budget. When it's obvious through the information that I received that the budget showed that we had $57,000 left in soft costs, based on understanding the change orders that had occurred. So I guess, Jamie, I'm asking the question, Chief Deputy Bowles thought he had a certain dollar figure. This says the council approves a certain dollar figure, and your write-up says we had 106, and none of them match. How did that happen?
The calculation on the 106 was in the resolution that authorized the project. It included contingency, there was a construction contract for Robertson, contingency and soft dollar costs, and there was a separate line for the cruiser shelter for 115. So if you take the first total on there, you back out the construction cost, which I think was $4,253,000, give or take. You take that off, and my understanding was there was a $100,000 contingency number. Take $100,000 off, what's left would have to be the soft dollar cost.
I understand the math, believe me,
So
I
that's
got
where
that
that
part.
came up
But
with.
as early as April, you had the 110 in your budget for the cruiser shelter. But I guess, if I could, let me ask a couple more questions if council's okay with that. I don't want to take up too much time here. One other thing that I'm concerned about is in the information that I received, it talks about Carr Park and how that was a granted park for recreational purposes. And now that it's not being used or it's converted to a non-recreational use, how is that going to be compensated? Do we have to go out and buy more park somewhere? Do we have to change something over to make up for that area of car park that is now being used for police station? How is that gonna be resolved? Should we expect extra costs? That's in your email chains. I mean, I'm not, this was news to me when I was reading it. So I'll definitely get you those
No,
emails.
yeah, I know early on we were talking about whether or not Car Park was,
It's a land grant type of,
right, but this was portion of property was not a
yeah.
portion of.
There's an
the
email
Car
dated on
Park.
August 12th from ODNR stating that that the city would be required to replace converted property. So I'm just asking if there was ever resolution to that.
Yes, there was, because when we originally thought that the police station might encroach onto the park, that's when this came up. And when it was all laid out and surveyed, it wasn't, we didn't touch
Was
any
this
of
the first survey, Mayor, or the second survey that had to be done?
I'm not aware that there was two surveys.
There have been. There's been multiple surveys done.
Okay.
So, okay, can I ask you one more quick question? The subcontractor, Happy, whatever, the mechanical, Heapy, who paid, how was their contract paid for? Was that through the architect?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And what fund paid for that? Was that through the bond? Was that through a general fund?
The money, we issued a 1-year note for the 500,000, we paid that off through debt service.
So theirs was included in that?
Correct.
The 500,000 was for design, the bid process, and construction management.
So I'd hope that would be included in the total cost of the entire facility, correct? That would be part of that you would include.
Yeah, it's included in the engineer, or the architect's cost.
Okay. And the last time we met, BJ and Jamie, you were there, I had suggested or recommended that you guys go back to the architect and their subcontractors or subconsultants and ask them about their errors. I know that there's an error that they're already paying for through the HVAC, but there are multiple other errors in here and other bulletins that show that there were errors within the plans that, and I'll use your words, not mine, you know, the taste in your mouth regarding the sanitary debacle was a good one to swallow, and it's not a good one to swallow for me either. BJ, I agree with you 100% on that one. Have we gone back to them to find out what responsibility they may have for these extras?
We continue those discussions
Okay.
with,
I'd love to be up.
with not just Heapy, but others, you know, architect and engineer as well.
Yeah, there are multiple
Mhm.
examples of issues with their.
I don't think it lies just on one person.
Okay. And lastly, I'd like to say that I think Robertson, throughout this project, did an excellent job in helping the city keep the project moving, keep it on time, and put a quality project together. I don't want anybody on council to think that I think that there's anything within what I've received that shows Robertson didn't do a good job.
Robertson did a tremendous job, and throughout the project, they did a tremendous job in cutting costs and value engineering stuff for us, so I could not be happier with the job they did.
I won't say that about the architect and others, and I certainly hope you did not give them a recommendation that they asked for halfway through this project.
Never gave a recommendation.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't do as detailed an analysis as Mr. Walther, but I do have one question, in my meeting with Mr. King this morning, I asked him about this, I didn't have this in front of me, but in resolution 2019-032, it references a purchase order number 2018-405 that was for $4,382,050.75. But in the legislative report, it has a different amount for the same purchase order. And I'm just bringing that up. I don't want to get into a long discussion of that. I think it's just an example of how I'm not comfortable at all with moving forward on either Resolution 32 or Ordinance 4336 without getting and I don't know if I wanted it detailed as Mr. Walther wants it, but without a showing of what the costs were for the police department. And Mr. King, I'm not as smart or knowledgeable as Mr. Walther, so Mr. King had to tell me what a purchase order was this morning at breakfast. What is it? Who creates it? Where does it come from? What does it do? He explained it all to me. So I understand that. So my little baby steps, I need a lot more just don't feel comfortable because it's because of some of the things Mr. Walther talked about, and then this, I just noticed in going through the council packet. I didn't do a public records request. I didn't see the need for that, but I just, that's something, that's one thing that I saw, so I don't feel comfortable with, if these are gonna come up for a vote, I'm gonna vote no, because I just don't think that we have enough information. Now, I will say, as Mr. Walther said, that I've been through the police station and got a tour, and it's a fantastic facility, and the city should be very, very proud of it. And in my view, I'm not so much concerned, I mean, the numbers that I'm thinking we're looking at are were relative to the size of the project are very small. We're talking about, under 1% variation, so at least from what I've seen. So as I say, I'm not as smart or sophisticated as Mr. Walter, so I'm probably missing something. I don't know. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But I'm more concerned about getting a track on the numbers. And so what I encouraged Mr. King to do was to come up with sort of a blow-by-blow description of where the money went. I know I talked to Mr. Nicholson about this, and Mr. Nicholson's view, I think he'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that the problem may be over in the soft cost area, not necessarily the problem with the building itself, but we want to try to figure that out. So, as I can say, I'm disappointed that we've gotten to this point, but I'm confident that we're going to get it fixed, and we'll get it straightened out. But that ball's clearly in the administration's court.
Mr. Hicken?
I agree with that, but I'm forced to ask myself the question on 4336, what, by not passing it, are we holding up? Because I think what we're holding up is the last payment to the only person that everybody just sat here and said did well. And so I applaud leadership and Mr. Walther and anybody else that has taken the time to begin to dig into this, and I think we do need to do that. But for me, if in attempting to grab a hold of some of these unknowns, and I'm in the exact same boat as Mr. Barstow, simply because I don't have engineering experience, and I wouldn't know to look at a thing and ask the questions. I don't want to. Well, I don't want to not pay for swimming pool chemicals, and I don't want to stop the safe travel plan, because that's something I fought for incredibly hard, and traffic signal, electrical service, which is something we all had talked about, and the detention pond of a pond that's overflowing if it's the same one and undermining our road. So I wholeheartedly think we need answers. I just don't know if not adopting 4336 serves that purpose. And that would be my question to my fellow council members. For that reason, unless I hear differently, and I'm totally open to it, I'm probably going to be a yes vote on 4336. So I guess I would ask that question professionally: Is that what is being held up? Is holding it up not paying the architect, which Mr. Walther seems to have problems with? I think the architect's already paid.
They're all paid out.
So
I have a question for Mr. Zetz. So this happened one time, and when Ms. Sager was on council, she asked, and I can't remember the words that she used, parliamentarily, to extract a portion of an ordinance so she could vote no on it and vote yes on the rest of it. Is that, and that was granted, and she thinks she called it a point of personal, and everyone, of course, again, as I've already disclosed, I'm kind of ignorant. I was new to council, and I thought, okay, it sounds good to me, and everyone said, oh yeah, go ahead. And she did it, and they voted that way.
I'll admit the Robert's Rules of Order book is about 450 pages. I know a lot of it. I've never heard of that, though. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist somehow.
How many pages?
Oh, that's the mini version. The real book's like that
version.
thick.
The mini version, this is just the tiny version.
It's also braille.
Yeah, I don't. Honestly,
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that.
All right.
Mr. Lee.
Yeah, I don't wanna be repetitive, but I 100% agree with Tim. I don't wanna hold anything else up. I have the same concerns, met with the administration. I feel confident that after meeting with them, that they are digging into that and getting the answers that we've asked for. Agree with Mr. Barstow too, that, if in fact the 1% is accurate, I'm okay with that. But we still need to know that that's the case, but I don't wanna hold anything up. And again, I think Tim said it perfectly, we all agree that Robertson has done a fabulous job. I don't wanna, they deserve to be paid for the work they performed.
Any other discussion? Go ahead, Andy, now's your time, dude.
Yeah, can I ask, Jamie and PJ, the remaining money that's left, do you have an exact amount that's left to be paid?
Yeah, but
Okay, let's not say exact. Would you say it's 60,000?
I believe it's 70 with all the retainage left.
70, and is it mostly retainage? Obviously your whole 10 until, I don't know.
They've gotten paid out of, the reason I'm a little reluctant, because they had submitted a change order for a larger portion, because we didn't have enough appropriations, they amended their payment request. And so I'm not sure how that affected retainage versus the other costs to be paid out. So I
The
can
only
get
reason
you
I
that
bring-
information, but I
The only
honestly.
reason why I bring that up is holding retainage is not unusual to hold retainage for an extended period of time in the industry. But I am concerned that it's not 1%, Mr. Barstow, and in the building side. And I have good reason to feel that way. So I'll put that on the table. But I would agree with Tim that Robertson's the only one here, the only one in my book that should be paid for this building, and I would hate to hold them up unjustifiably.
Mr. King, you have something to add?
Yeah, I do. This supplemental appropriation is for a specific amount for Robertson, and if there's anything in addition to that, to Mr. Walter's concern that it's gonna exceed that, it would certainly have to come back to council at that time to appropriate the additional funds to cover that.
Any other discussion? Kathy, roll please.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, we didn't wish to.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. Yep, fourth reading, need a motion to adopt, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2019-4336.
You got a motion to adopt, need a second? Seconded by Mr. Powell, discussion? And roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Well, you convinced me, yes.
Hayes. Yes. Pickens,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter. Yes. Walter.
Yes?
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2019-4335 for a third reading.
So moved.
Second.
So motion by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Kathy, when you're ready.
Ordinance 2019-4335, this is the third reading and amendment to chapter 1315 of the codified ordinances of the city of Pataskla, and repeal all other ordinances and parts of the ordinances in conflict therewith.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move we adopt ordinance 2019-4335.
Got a motion to adopt,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Hayes. Yes. Pickens,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter. Yes. Walter,
Yes?
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2019-4340 for a third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell. Kathy, when you're ready.
Ordinance 2019-4340, this is the third reading, and ordinance amending section 925.01, Rule 8, Rule 9, Rule 11, and Rule 15 of the codified ordinances of the city of Pataskla as shown in Exhibit A.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to commend Chris. Chris, this is exactly what we talked about. Excellent job.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Barstow?
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt ordinance 2019-4340.
Got a motion to adopt, seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion? And roll.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Ordinance passes. On the resolution, Resolution 2019-032, a resolution approving a then and now certification by the City Finance Director pursuant to RC 5705.41 D2 for the payment of operating expenditures, which was tabled. Any desire to take that off the table?
If I clarify, without it, I am unable to pay Robertson. This is the mechanism. I issue a purchase order, and then we process payment against that purchase order.
So this is companion legislation with the supplement.
Right.
Okay. I'll make a motion to pull resolution 2019-4, I'm sorry, -032 off the table.
Got a motion to take it off the table?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
No.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
No.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Discussion?
Well, I go back to my comment earlier that I think there's a discrepancy between the amount of that purchase order that's in the resolution and what's in 4336, and so my question is, does that make a difference? I just read that.
Share those numbers with us?
I already did, but I will again. In the resolution, at least the one that I have, it says that the purchase order was for $4,382,050.75. But I believe in the ordinance, it says that that same purchase order was for $4,573,979.
Mr. Nicholson?
Okay, in the fourth whereas, basically, the midway towards the end, it says, which left the remaining final contract amount of $87,778.72 unappropriated and unencumbered at the end of the year. So that's what this purchase order is doing. The budget, I try not to have cents in an appropriation. I try to round numbers, so the 87,780 that was approved in appropriation is just a couple dollars more than this PO.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the third whereas. It talks about a purchase order for an amount, $4,382,050.75. And then in the companion legislation, there's a different amount. It's off by $200,000. My question is, does that make any difference?
In the you're talking about the supplemental?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. 4336. Maybe I just misread it.
On the supplemental, I show that it was the 686,813.76. It's on the second page, it'd be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th whereas. On the supplemental. So it has a balance payable Robertson Construction of $686,813.76, which left the remaining final contract amount of $87,778.72, unappropriated and unencumbered at year end 2018.
I guess, okay, all right, that's fine, whatever. Never mind.
Any more discussion? Captain?
Oh, first we have a motion to amend resolution 032 by substitution, and we don't have a motion to adopt that yet.
Okay. Okay. Motion to amend resolution 2019-032 by substitution.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion on the motion to amend. Kathy, when you're ready.
Walter,
No.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow.
No.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Okay, motion to amend passes. Now we're back to the original resolution. Any other discussion?
Will there be discussion after you read it? Have you read it yet?
We've already read it. I read it, yes.
Yeah, I'll just say, it's frustrating for me because fiscal stuff that I hear back and forth, I followed exactly where Jamie talked about the $87,000 resolution, and the difference. What I heard Mr. Barstow ask about was the $4 million part. I voted to amend the resolution, and I think that I'm okay with, I don't think, I know, I'll vote to pass it. But it seems like there was a question asked there that Mr. Barstow didn't get answered, and I too am suffering from some number fatigue, if that's the right word. That's not the reason to go forward, but for me, paying the best person for the project is good enough, and I don't know that, the resolution isn't crazy out of line with what it says we owe them and what the ordinance says we owe them. So, just, that's where I'm at.
You still looking for those two numbers?
I'm not gonna, go ahead, I'm not gonna get my question answered, so let's move on.
Well, I'm sorry,
I'm not gonna get my question answered, so let's
Question.
move on.
Let's try to find out what those two numbers are
We'll circle back.
now.
Well, the one thing I do see, on the resolution, in the resolution 32, that third whereas, talks about the purchase order 18405 was issued in the project amount, and it was $4,382,50.75, which reflected the contract amount plus approved change orders at the time. So through the end of the year, the change orders that we had approved, that's what the PO was at. So it's different than the contract amount initially, it's the amended contract as we went through the change orders to Robertson. Plus, we pulled off dollars, remember, as I stated earlier, we started with $4.6 million and we pulled dollars off to pay for the IT and do separate purchase orders.
Is that what's meant by then and now? It was originally.
Then and now basically says, we are required to have a purchase order in place to, prior to any expenditure of funds or commitment, contract signed, whatever, in place prior to that. If you don't, I can issue a PO up to $3,000. And basically, I certify that at the time the expenditure was made, and now, thus then and now, the funds were available and in the treasury. Above $3,000, however, those have to come to council for authorization. So that's why we bring these back, because I can't issue a PO. I can do it, but above 3,000, council has to certify it.
Okay, I apologize, it does say, it does have the same amount, I guess it's in the legislative report that it has a
Okay,
different.
I apologize if I
It has
messed
a,
that up.
it has a different amount, and
Okay,
that's what I was.
I will look at that and I'll circle back with you on it.
All right, sorry, I
Sorry.
apologize.
You're totally satisfied now.
Well, I'm not totally satisfied. Not by a long shot.
But you're okay with these numbers as we get ready to vote? Your answers, your questions have been answered.
Took care of the question.
Okay, very
That
good.
was the discrepancy.
Any other
Okay.
discussion?
We need a motion to
Okay,
adopt.
now I need a motion to adopt the resolution. Okay,
Motion to adopt resolution 2019-032.
Second.
motion by Mr. Hickens, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow.
No.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
No.
Resolution passes. On to new business, ordinance 2019-4342 for a first reading. Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Hicken. Kathy, when you're ready, first reading.
Ordinance 2019-4342, this is the first reading, an ordinance amending section 929.7 and 929.8 of the codified ordinances of the city of Pataskla, thereby increasing the water and sanitary sewer rates beginning January 1st, 2020.
Any discussion? Okay, on the resolutions, resolution 2019-041, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute a contract with B.L. Anderson Company, Inc. to purchase and have installed a return activated sludge pump.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Walther. Discussion? Have we done work with B.L. Anderson before?
This is our first time using this company. They came recommended by the district.
Okay. Kathy, roll please.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2019-042, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into and execute an agreement on behalf of the city of Pataskala with Corvus Janitorial Systems for the purpose of providing routine facility janitorial and cleaning services for City Hall, Police Station, and Old Town Hall buildings.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Powell.
I have a couple of questions for BJ.
Yes.
BJ, what's the name, what's the name of the current?
All-American
American. And they did not submit, they were aware but didn't submit a bid?
Correct.
Okay. When does their contract end? When's the last?
As soon as this one is awarded, we talked to Mr. Zetz and we would provide, right now, they're just on a month-to-month contract,
All-American?
All-American,
Okay.
so we're gonna send them a letter and say as of June, or, what are we, June?
June 17th.
June 17th,
Okay.
that we would go with Corvus.
And how long has All-American been doing the cleaning here, do you know?
5 years.
Okay. What's your feelings about them as far as?
There's been dissatisfaction from staff, including myself, on the cleaning that they have provided in the facilities.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Any other discussion?
Okay.
Yes.
After, this contract will be brought back to us in 2 years, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? And roll, please.
Hicken,
Yes?
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
If I could just clarify, you said this, I assume you meant the cleaning, yes,
The bidding process.
yes,
Thank you.
not this contract.
Yep, understand. Yep.
Resolution 2019-043, a resolution authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into a contract with Spenco Excavating, Inc. for the emergency State Route 310 culvert replacement project.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion and roll.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Resolution passes. We get a warranty with that? Just kidding. Resolution 2019-044, resolution to accept and confirm infrastructure improvements for the Broadmoor Commons Phase 2 development for public maintenance and operation by the city of Pataskala.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Walther, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion and roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Walther,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak? I need your name, address, and you have 3 minutes to speak about any topic that we have discussed this evening.
Sean Barath, 310 Oak Meadow Drive, we've already talked about it. Sidewalks for walking path Oak Meadow Drive. My comment is this: if the residents of Oak Meadow Drive would have been involved with the street committee and with the initial discussions, now I've heard comments that we were, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm one of the most active ones there and have talked about that street. And the only way I found out was from Mrs. Sams, who brought it to my attention they were gonna put a walking path in. I sat down with Mr. Haynes, we looked at that point, looked at drawings. And I told him my concern then, okay? I've taken the initiative to circulate a petition to my neighbors. And I've turned it over to council. You have the names and address. And I'll tell you this, you got a very unique situation there. You got 4 single-family properties. Myself and Mr. Perry are 2 to the 4. You have 6 multifamily properties that are all rentals. You have an apartment complex, and you have a shopping center. Okay? The only people that are really concerned are the 4 of us that own our property and don't rent it out. Okay? I'm concerned because I'll invite any one of you, and I had before, drive by my property and look at the level of care that I give it up to the street. Okay? I've lived in that property for 49 years, and I've maintained it. That property was designed for open drainage. If previous councils, administrations would have held the people responsible that created those drainage problems when it was brought to their attention, we wouldn't be dealing with the expense that we're dealing with today, okay? If previous administrations, when they decide to put 100 homes to the north of me, and we bring it to their attention after the fact, because we weren't notified that they were gonna put that project in there, that maybe you ought to talk to that developer and have him update or upgrade Oak Meadow Drive because of the traffic he's gonna add to it. The mayor at that time, 1992, his words to me, Mr. Rath, we can't do that. We'll chase builders off. We can't afford to impose, additional expenses on them. And he knows as well as I, it wouldn't have cost him a dime. It would have been whoever purchased those homes would have paid for the upgrade of Oak Meadow Drive to Broad. Finally, I'll point this out to you. Someone in this council put a sidewalk from Broad Street up to the shopping center on the east side of the street. And guess what? It's concrete. Why wasn't that done in asphalt? Would have been cheaper. But yet you want me as a property owner to accept it. Finally, I have a lady that comes to my house that provides a service for my son as a massage therapist that lives up off of Taylor Road. And when I mentioned to her that this whole debate going on about asphalt versus sidewalks, you know what her comment to me was? Oh, that's funny. We have a walking path plus sidewalks, and you can't even get sidewalks. It made me really, I didn't respond to it, but I thought, yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. So, thank you, and I hope you do the right thing.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, what do you got for me, Mr. Barstow?
Mr. Mayor, I move we go into executive session pursuant to Revised Code Section 121.22G4 to prepare for negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
I got a motion to go into executive session, seconded by Mr. Powell.
Point of order, I'm not finished.
Oh, okay.
Invited in this executive session will be Mayor Compton, BJ King, the city administrator, Jamie Nicholson, the finance director, and Deputy Chief Mike Bowles, since Chief Brooks is on vacation, right? Okay.
Correct.
So that's my motion. Thank you.
No, I see.
Yep, motion by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion and roll.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Hayes. Yes. Pickens,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter. Yes. Walter.
Executive session 9:22 upstairs.
They didn't invite you. Stay away if I were you.
I don't think my name was on the list.
Need a motion to come out of executive session, moved by Mr. Hickson, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion and roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Hayes. Yes. Pickens,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Carter. Yes. Walter.
All right, out of executive session at 9:50. Let's start with you, Mr. Hickson.
No, I have nothing.
Mrs. Carter?
I'm nothing.
Mr. Powell?
Nothing.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Mrs. Carter for attending the Memorial Day celebration and thanking and helping me with reading all those wonderful names.
You're welcome.
And it was nice to see your son in uniform. What's that?
no more Cub Scouts ringing the bell? Can we,
I didn't even know that's how they were, when I looked
Yeah, that
over to
was
see how
rough.
they were doing that, yeah, that was.
There's a rough one. Oh, and they took turns, so it was like, ding, 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 ding,
I
and they were
asked the-
talking and they.
I asked the den mother to give me two of their most mature boys, and then when I looked over, there was a line of Cub Scouts, and they would just take turns ringing the bell. In fact, when I announced Mrs. Carter, they rang the bell, and I had to tell everybody, she's not dead yet. She's still with us.
Yeah.
Okay, farmer's market started, it was started at 4 o'clock, and it started raining at 4:01, but it stopped raining at 4:10. Oh, you guys are trying to get out of here.
My chair's
What was
down.
it, what was going on at 4:12?
Seriously.
Rough crowd. Mr. Walter?
You skipped Todd. You skipped Mr. Nothing.
Mr. Walter?
I'd like to try to schedule an ag meeting for the next, our next meeting, which will be on the 17th. Do we have anything scheduled at this point?
We have a public hearing at 6:30, so anything
I think
prior.
we're at,
Have a development meeting at some point too.
I can't be here, Andy, you will travel with me after.
Okay, I'm fine. This is an issue to look at discharge zones.
I know, I'm just
obviously.
saying, I can't.
So, then we will look to July, the first meeting in July. July first.
July 1st.
I don't think I'm here for that. So we'll,
What time?
let's cancel that. Cancel that.
I can come in during a day.
Could we do an off-council night, because I think this is an important topic to talk about.
So, off council night, anybody?
You want to send an email out tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll send an email on, so we'll need to discuss.
Mrs. Hayes?
Nothing.
Very
Mr. Lee.
quickly, awesome job to West Lincoln Fire Department on the rescue on the water tower. Highly technical, very difficult, been there, seen those, awesome job. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Need a second by Mrs. Carter. Discussion and roll.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Hicken?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.